Hey there folks and welcome. This is going to be my review for the BTCC at Croft. And I'm going to talk a little bit about each of the races, then a little bit about the sporting series before making a reflection on the championship and the place it's currently at. So race 1 showed Colin Turkett on pole, showing his historical strengths at the track. 5 of the top 6 went on softs. Rob Huff was the only one that didn't. Then Jake Hill and Nick House did also use their softs in race 1. Ingram got through on Camish at the chicane after being forced out onto the grass by Camish and Star. That was proper, BTCC style racing. One of the standout performances was Chris Smiley, actually, in the Cupra, who had been performing well early on. Josh Cook had been held up for a while before getting passed through Tower. That was a really nice move there. Meanwhile, he'll charge up the order, and I think by lap 6, he'd gone from 11th to 6th. Elsewhere, Adam Morgan had a good recovery into the points. You could argue that showed the BMW's more historical strengths at a track like Croft. That said, by that point that he started to charge up, him battling with Aidan Moffat dropped them off the back of what had been a 5-car train at that point. In the end, it was a win for Turkett. It was his 70th win, Grand Slam win. It was his 15th win at Croft, which I think is a record for one driver on one track, and also put WSR into the second place in the all-time team wins category with 127. So, all in all, quite a significant race. And then we had race 2, where it was a great start for Tingram, who got past Turkett in Tower as some proper tin top style, beating and banging. Turkett tried to fight back, whilst Jake Hill dropped back into 9th place. That was because he had to be on the hard tyres, because he finished in the top 10 on the soft tyres. Suddenly, there was light contact with Sutton to Tower on lap 3, which sent Sutton into the grass. Huff sent it around the outside of Sutton. Then you can say it was a switchback because Turkett would have flying past, and then he got past Turkington. So that was Huff getting his way past 2 drivers in one go. Then Ingram, it was one of those things of he was on the hard tyre and he just wanted to let people by, so he indicates left into Tower and gives Huff the inside on lap 5. A lap later does the same for Josh Cook. Meanwhile, Aaron Taylor-Smith sets up a train behind him. Turkett keeps trying to force a move past. And then, speaking of forcing a move, Tom Chilton and Jake Hill got together. Chilton gets up the inside and Sunny out. Hill squeezes him a bit and ends up backwards into the tyres. What I was interested by was what Tim Harvey had said, which was it was a problem of being on the softs in race 1 because Chilton was on the softs in race 2 and the hards and softs were very different in terms of their performances. Meanwhile, bad luck for Morgan put him out with only a handful of laps left. I think wasn't it a motor? But in the end, it was a win for Josh Cook. 20th win of his career, followed by Huff for the first podium of the season for Dan Rowbottom. And one of the things I found fascinating, I think it's still the case now, is that the crashes involving Hill and Turkett are being delegated to Knock Hill. That's where they could potentially become grid penalties for Chilton and for Sutton. And speaking of Chilton, in race 3 he got a reverse grid draw. Took off from the start. Aaron Taylor-Smith, who was in second, backed up the pack. Ingram then jumped the forwards into P3, while Turkett tried to force the issue on Dan Rowbottom and Sutton on at the end of lap 1. Then on lap 2 you see Dan Cam get a double overtake on Ingram and Aaron Taylor-Smith because they get into each other through the S's. And they're forced wide out the track as a result, so Rowbottom goes through into Sunny in. And one of the things that stood out for me with this race 3, I think this is the second race in the Croft weekend where Darryl De Leon got a penalty. This time for jumping the tire. I think the first one was the track limits one. Meanwhile, Rob Huff got passed by Turkett through the use of the hybrid. Then gets into Sutton to study in when Sutton sent him through the S's. But Rob Huff, ever the kind of more gentlemanly driver, backed up and let Sutton take off so he didn't get a penalty. Turkett had a great run on the hybrid against Ingram, but they got into each other on the exit of the S's. But yeah, Turkett goes flying into the tyres. I was surprised he was able to keep going because I thought that would be the end of the event for him. But yeah, it essentially put him out the race. He did get points at the end though, thanks to late race drama for the Vauxhalls that got into each other. I think part of it from what I saw, was De Leon gave Doble a slight tap, and then the other two got into each other from that. But it was a light flag win for Ingram, a bit like it was a light flag win for Turkington in the first race. Aaron Taylor-Swift started like right at the end, but Turkington just about pipped Doble to 14th at the end, given De Leon's penalty. In terms of the sporting series, the highlight was probably the pre-66 touring cars, because other sporting series were good as usual. Portugal had some side-by-side action with some upsets and yellow flags when cars got stuck in the gravel, like we saw at Clervaux. But I think the one-off appearance by these pre-66 cars was definitely the standout. From the famous drivers, former BTCC drivers and winners like Sam Torder, former F1 drivers like Max Chilton, and a Le Mans winner and Guy Smith, to famous cars, and just naming the Ford, you had Falcons, Cortinas, and Anglias. There was a lot of action to keep an eye on for a massive cast of cars and drivers, and for me, what it reminded me of was what I feel was a kind of heyday for the BTCC, because I started watching in 2004. But for me, the highlight in the 20 plus years I've been watching the sport now is 2014. It's that kind of early stage of the next generation touring cars, when you'd have 30 plus cars showing up to a weekend. You got 30 cars in the pre-66s. So I just would really love to see the BTCC get to that point again. In terms of the reflections, let's talk about what it does for the championship. Ingram is now 21 points clear of Jake Hill, with Ash Sutton further 8 points back, and Dan Camish 12 points back in addition to that. Colin Turkington, who I was hoping would be in contention when it comes to the final round at Brands, is now 65 points off of the points lead. Meanwhile, in the team's championship, Napa has a 60-point lead over Bristol Street Motors, and WSR BMW is 76 points back on that. But that's because, of course, Laser Tools Racing is a separate entity. If they were combined, they'd be out front, quite clearly. But yeah, it's a question of, does the hybrid have a big enough impact, or the tyres having a big enough impact? Was it the two of them together that affected the races? Because in the end, we ended up seeing 3 different race winners for the second BTCC event in a row, and I think that is actually quite awesome. But anyways, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye for now.